Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's see. We have a few people coming in here. I'm so excited to be chatting with you all today about navigating eating habits, especially this summer. So there's a few people who are in the waiting room. Is going to make sure everyone's getting in okay. Let's see. We're good to be recorded. All right. Welcome. I love seeing some familiar names on here. It's so good to see everybody. Now, if you are on your computer, just make sure that you are muted so that everybody can hear me okay. We will be taking time for questions at the end, but I like to make sure that everyone can hear me and doesn't have any issues doing so, especially since this is being recorded. So we are going to hop right in and get started here, knowing that many of you are likely on like your lunch break, depending on where you're located. But as I mentioned, I'm very excited to be chatting with all of you about how to navigate summer self-sabotage. Like I said, I know a couple of the names that are in here, but there are many more people signed up, including people for the replay of this. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Allie Tallman. I'm a registered dietitian, and I am the founder of the nutrition consulting company, Nourished Roots. So I help individuals who feel like your lack of energy is failing you as a mom or busy professional. I help individuals who feel like food controls them and that they can't stop thinking about food every day, like your metabolism is broken and that you feel like you are uncomfortable in your own skin and hate the way you look in the mirror. So these are all just some things that I help my clients with in the way that I work as a dietitian. And then lastly, I help people who feel confused and overwhelmed when it comes to healthy eating and knowing how much to eat or what to do to reach their nutrition goals. And let me know in the chat box if this is you. Do you ever feel confused about all the information that you are gathering on social media, for example? Like I've been confused, not really about nutrition stuff, but about many other things that I see out there on the internet. So let me know if this is you, if you have ever felt confused before. All the above, yes. Very common. So I saw someone said where they are from, but let's hear from you. Where are you from and what food do you crave the most often? So I think I saw someone's from Ohio. Love it. Toronto. Oh, cool. Yeah. And I love what I do for many reasons, but one of the reasons why I love being able to connect to people literally all over the place. I have a client right now in Canada. I have a client in Guam, for example. So all over the place. St. Louis. You most often crave sugar. Yeah, really common. Most of the people that I work with who have intense cravings are craving some type of like sugar, for example. Sweet and salty cravings. So as you can see, there's a little photo of an ice cream cone there too. So we're going to talk about emotional eating and stress eating, bored eating, being in tune with your hunger and fullness, and how to reset your metabolism, be confident in yourself and your body this summer, and how to really just generally feel your best, because that's what all of us want, right? And that's what I want for each of you, is to feel like your very best self. So another thing I want to hear from all of you about is, which of these do you do the most often, or which do you feel? Do you feel like you eat when you're stressed? Do you eat out of boredom? Do you restrict foods and then crave them? Do you eat without paying attention? Do you eat with distraction? So which of these is you, or which do you do the most often, would you say? I'd love to hear from you guys. So put that in the chat box as well. Yep, stress eating, restriction. Yeah, so answer in the chat box. Restriction. Out of habit. Eating with distractions. Yep, I see it all, guys. And for many of you who are eating with because of distractions or eating out of boredom or stress, I want you to think of the summer stressors. So as we were entering summer, although it already feels like summer in Nashville, I think the first day of summer is next week, summer stressors that are coming up. So traveling, kids out of school, for those of you who have kids, work-related things, family visits, family events. A lot of my clients have like family reunions this summer, for example, and in general, wearing like smaller or tighter clothing, unfortunately. My dog is in my room today, so I look over, I feel like he might end up barking, unfortunately. So first we want to think of sourcing or finding the source of cravings. So many of you said that you crave salty or sweet food. So eating out of emotions is one of those things. I want you all to think of, are you eating out of emotions? Are you eating out of habit? Are you eating out of stress? So when you're emotional, no matter what your emotion is, you're likely going to grab that Ben & Jerry's ice cream. You're likely going to, really want to eat something that brings you comfort. But many of you also eat out of boredom, something to think about. And boredom is really out of habit. So that's when you automatically just grab something in the evening and you don't really actually think about the way it tastes. You're not actually hungry. You're just wanting something automatically. And oftentimes, many of you actually may be almost addicted to sugar in a way where you have this like reward system in your brain who loves this pleasure that you're getting from sugar. But really, ultimately, we need to figure out the source. Is it emotions? Is it habitual? Is it stress? Is it that you're eating too much sugar? Is it that you are not eating enough of, the appropriate foods throughout the day? So where do cravings fit in? So dieting teaches us that cravings are bad and should be ignored. Now, in reality, cravings are actually going to be normal. I want you all to think about that. We have taste buds. We have reasons why we like certain foods, right? Like my taste preferences are going to be different than your taste preferences. And so people think of the word cravings as being a bad thing. It's not bad. It's the same thing as when you are sitting at home and your husband says, "What do you want for dinner tonight?" That's whatever you're in the mood for, what you're craving. So we're actually better honoring our cravings rather than restricting. So for those of you who said that you are restricting, this is the diet binge cycle that many of you have been in. So for example, this is where this starts. You have negative thoughts about your body. You hate the way you look. Maybe you want to lose weight. I have a new client who's starting with me, for example, who wants to lose about 20 pounds. So they have this negative thought about their body. They hate the way they look. They want to lose weight. They restrict themselves. No sugar. They're not going to eat dessert. They refuse to eat any carbs, things like that. They feel deprived. They see everyone else enjoying ice cream this summer. They take their kids to ice cream, but they don't enjoy it themselves. Therefore, when they have a crappy day, they end up overeating it. They end up wanting all of the sugar. Not only do they eat one serving, but they end up overeating it and they have a bunch of sugar. And because of all that, they feel shameful about what they've consumed. And then because you feel shameful, you have negative thoughts again about your body, you feel like you've gained weight, you start another diet. So this is where, right down here, is where those cravings come in. So if you restrict yourself too much, you end up craving it more and more. And they always say that you want something you can't have. This is exactly where that comes into play. So dieting teaches us that cravings are bad and should be ignored. And in reality, we should be honoring those because restriction actually lowers our metabolism. Restriction leaves us deficient in nutrients. It hinders our ability to reach our health goals. And like I keep saying, it makes us crave that food even more. So instead, when a craving comes up, I want you to think of, are you actually hungry? Are you craving something? If you're craving something, do you actually want that food or is it out of habit? Now, you could think of, if you're really wanting that food, you could think of this. Instead of eating, it says portion out the food. What I'm saying by that is don't eat out of the entire bag. So maybe you're wanting something salty. Don't eat out of just the entire thing of potato chip bag because you're going to eat the entire bag typically. Eat sitting down, put it in a bowl, enjoy it, and savor the food. Don't scarf it. many times when we are eating a food that we love, we're not actually paying attention to it. And when I talk about being hungry versus craving something versus eating out of habit, a lot of times we are craving something, for example, those salty mid-afternoon potato chips, because we haven't eaten enough during the day. We haven't eaten enough protein. We haven't eaten enough fiber. Putting down your fork in between bites. I like to say choose the good stuff. So my example, if you've been on one of my workshops before, you've heard me say this, but I want to eat the fresh donut from the donut shop that was just made this morning versus the break room donut leftovers that have been there for 5 days. So thinking of like the good stuff. So be picky about what you're eating, and you could still keep the foods in your house. I never want any of you or any of my clients to feel like you can never have the foods you love. But if you have a Snickers bar on your desk, how likely are you going to eat the Snickers bar? Like you're going to keep looking at it. You're going to eat the Snickers bar. So instead of completely keeping the food out of the house, just keep it in your pantry, put it in your refrigerator, wherever it should be stored. Now, emotional eating and bored eating and eating out of our hunger cues, all of these things, while you're likely going to do it occasionally, it can lead to overeating. It can lead to eating past your fullness, choosing foods that don't prioritize your health, sluggishness, weight gain, busted metabolism, food guilt, unwanted body changes, all these different things that don't actually serve our bodies. And instead, learning to cope with those emotions. So, food is an emotional, social, and a way of connecting. However, it should not always be our first form of self-soothing. So you should allow your space to feel your feelings. And it's hard. I'm telling you, as someone who does not love myself, I don't love to sit with my feelings, I should say. It's hard. And journaling or writing down things that are triggering and writing those emotions can actually just be really impactful. So being aware of those triggers and also finding other ways to cope with them outside of food. So FaceTiming a friend, going for a walk, doing a puzzle, reading, watching TV, playing with your dog, journaling. Now, being bored is a type of emotion. I want to let you know that. Being bored is an emotion. If you are always having to grab a snack while you're watching TV at night, that is out of boredom. And it's funny to me to think about it this way, because the TV show, you watching TV should be the activity that really satisfies the boredom. If it doesn't, we need to find something else to satisfy that boredom, because you shouldn't always grab something while you're watching TV, right? So same thing with stress. Food should not be your only mode of dealing with stress, and use these same activities in order to cope with stress. The best thing you can do is find those triggers though. So for example, if work always causes stress, maybe you always have a meeting with your boss on Tuesdays and that always brings you stress. That's a trigger. Let's find a way that we can really try and navigate that before you use food. So I'd love to hear from all of you. What are some foods that you eat when you're emotional or stressed? So let's see, cookies, chips. You can either direct message me or you can put it out to the group. Cookies, chips, ice cream, anything I can get my hands on. Fast food, crunchy, salty, sweet. Yeah, a lot of different things. So exercise is another thing that all of you could implement. You could think of incorporating exercise, because that's been shown to reduce stress levels. And I recommend for all of you working out at least 3 times a week, moving your body. I see someone else said pastries. That's a common one too. So find movement that you actually enjoy. And if you're having trouble finding movement you enjoy, then incorporate some type of like discipline into your routine and say, or challenge where I'm going to get an X number of workouts per week or steps per day, and get a discipline and get a friend to keep you accountable. Movement is key to success with your nutrition. So bored eating, as I mentioned, is a type of emotional eating and is one of the most common reasons for overeating in general. Take yourself out of the kitchen is one thing you could do. So if you work in the kitchen, if you do things in the kitchen, you're likely going to be looking at that pantry, looking at that refrigerator, thinking, what should I eat next? Take yourself out of the situation, set yourself up for success. Be mindful. So when we were talking about the couch example right here, taking away distractions, having your spouse or your roommate or your boyfriend, girlfriend keep you accountable. And something I hear really often from people is, well, I feel out of control around those foods that I love when I'm emotional eating, stress eating, things like that. And I feel out of control and I eat the entire food. And I want you to think of, if you felt fully in control around food, you felt like you didn't have to eat the entire thing. You felt like you knew how much to eat. You were more in tune with how you felt. Imagine the confidence you have in your body and in yourself, truly. So habitual eating, which is similar to bored eating, is when we eat out of habit without thinking about it. So when you automatically just grab something after dinner because almost you're bored, but it's out of habit. This is when you often eat an entire container of food because you're not thinking about that food item. And this is when you really want to honor your hunger and getting acquainted with your hunger cues. Hunger is not a bad thing. I think everyone thinks we need to be starving our body and dieting, but really satisfying our hunger is the best way to reach your goals, regardless of what your goals are. If you want to lose weight, if you want to reduce body fat, increase muscle, honoring your hunger is the key to success. So what you can do is you can use this scale thinking of, okay, am I feeling full? Am I feeling hungry? If you're a 1 on the hunger fullness scale, for example, that's when you're going to feel like you've gone past your point. 10 is when you're physically ill because you are so full. So 10 would be like Thanksgiving Day when you've had, 2 meals already and you're really full, versus 1 is when you haven't eaten for 8 hours and you've starved your body. So really what you should be doing is you should always be eating at a 3 and you should be eating around a 7 or stopping around a 7 or an 8. So ultimately you're between the 7 and a 3 at all times. And this is where research shows you are more likely to be the weight that you want to be. You're more likely to reduce body fat, increase muscle. And this is truly what intuitive eating is. When you're really in tune fully and you feel more in control around food. So this is a starting place for a lot of you would be to learn how to incorporate that. And fueling your fullness is definitely hard. It's easier, said than done. But one thing that can help with that is take away distractions when you're eating. So many of you, like what I talked about, eat in front of the TV. And while that's okay sometimes, making sure that you are not eating the entire bag every time that you are eating in front of the TV or the entire container. So check in while you are eating. Say, like, where am I on this hunger fullness scale right now? Am I a 5? Am I full and I'm a 9? I went past the point, where are you when it comes to your fullness? So summary for everybody, leaning into your cravings. And I saw a question come through, which I'll answer. Leaning into your cravings is the best option for you. If you feel like this is something where you feel out of control then, and you just like don't have a plan, then keep listening because we'll talk about what that would look like for you. Don't overly restrict yourself and choose quality over quantity. So choose good quality foods over counting those calories in them. Reflect on what foods you are craving, when you crave them, and why you eat certain foods. This is something I talk about a lot with my clients, is really figuring out patterns. Like if you're always grabbing something immediately after dinner without thinking about it, then that's a pattern, right? And that maybe it's just habitual. Learn to manage stress and emotions outside of just using food. And one way you can do that is exercise. You can incorporate more movement. And listening to your body is one of the most impactful things you can do as well. And instead of restriction, instead of counting the calories, weighing out your food, focusing on a balanced plate. Many of you truly crave food in the afternoon, for example, and you feel like you're leaning on those potato chips because you're not eating the right amount of protein, you're not eating enough fiber. And this is where focusing on a balanced plate, choosing the right quality of food, and aiming to make most of your meals like this can really set you up for success. So if you want to have more confidence in your body than ever and reset your metabolism and look and feel your best, have more energy, if you want to feel less confused, many of you in the beginning said, I'm confused, there's a lot of information out there. And if you want to make healthy eating automatic and never second guess it again, you really do need support. You need an individual plan. Many of you here, I know you likely don't know exactly how much protein you need, how much fiber you need. You don't know the specifics. You need someone to support you and tell you what to do. You need accountability. You need guidance. You need a community. You need to focus in on your mindset, mindfulness, and metabolism. Like I said, you need an individual plan for you. That's likely what you are missing. That's a missing piece of the puzzle, oftentimes for many of you. And that's what we go over and provide you with in my Nourish Nutrition Breakthrough program. And I will take questions as well. I know someone did ask one, so I'll make sure I answer that. This is my high touch coaching program that uses a 3-phase approach. We go over mindset. We really dive into your mindfulness, and we make sure that you are doing the right things for your metabolism to set you up for success. So Nourish Nutrition Breakthrough is for you so you never feel stuck again, that you can boost your confidence, feel and look your best going into summer, but also going into the fall and holiday season in 2024, because it'll be here before we know it. Have more energy to play and be present with your kids, have a stronger metabolism than ever, and honestly, do all this without dieting. So we only have 3 spots left to join us in June. And if you are interested, I'll put the link in the chat box. Oh, I see another question that came through. Watch my program video and apply. And once you apply, we'll go over options. We'll discuss what that could look like for you. We'll go over any questions you have, but watch the video and apply. This is one of my past clients, Sarah, who said, before working with Allie, I've tried every diet under the sun, nothing worked. Allie helped me to lose 12 pounds during the program without counting calories. Because again, we're not counting numbers here. This is one of my clients, Allison, who said, after doing her program, I lost 10 pounds. I felt leaner than ever. I wore a bikini all summer with no shame. So this is Allison M, who she told me that she just hated her body and she felt bleh and gross all the time based on who she looked at in the mirror. For those of you who are feeling confused and overwhelmed about what to be doing, my client Danny said, I'm way less overwhelmed and can be a better parent because she had more energy. She didn't feel like she was like spending 8 hours meal prepping every day and getting bored about the food she was eating anymore. And lastly, if you have dieted or if you felt like you have counted calories and nothing has worked for you and your metabolism is busted, my client Nicole said, the anxiety and dread I used to feel about food is gone. So picture your health and where you want to be going in the summer. Use that link and I will answer those questions that I saw. Let's see. How do you eat without feeling as though you're being punished, not able to have tasty treats that everyone else gets to have? So you are able to have those tasty treats. That's the point, is not depriving yourself of those things at those holidays, the occasions that you mentioned, etc. The point is to not restrict yourself, because if you do restrict yourself, you end up really overdoing it in the long run. Now, the next question I always receive in regards to that is, well, if I have one bite of ice cream, I'm going to eat the entire pint. That is when you feel out of control around food. And that's when, I think you do need an individualized plan, like I said, in order to feel more in control, in order to really establish strategies that will put you in control and not the food in control. Because if you are having a negative mindset about food, if you're putting foods into those bad categories, I can promise you, you're not going to reach your goals. You're going to stay stuck with where you're at. Someone said, how do you address family summer gathering? Everyone wants to travel and eat. That is the best part about summer, is traveling and eating with your family and friends. The best thing you can do for yourself is navigate that situation and make sure you are the one in control. It's kind of the same thing, making sure that you are hitting your nutrition targets, like your protein, your fiber. My clients, for example, we talk about navigating any situation that comes up. Like last week, we talked about how to navigate going to like baseball games, what to be eating at stadium games, concerts, things like that. So the best thing you can do is set yourself up for success by having those strategies. And there are individual things you can focus on to do the bare minimum, like drinking enough water. And, you know, my clients, I have like a checklist, for example, of doing the bare minimum. So making sure that you are setting yourself up for success, because the last thing you want, you know, I see a sad face. The person who sent this said, how do you address family summer gatherings? Everyone wants to travel and eat. The sad face, traveling and eating with your family and friends should be a fun thing. It should not be stressful. It should not be anxiety provoking. If this is, you know, how you feel about traveling and eating with family, then that's when you really need to set up those strategies for success. The answers. Anybody else have any questions? All right, you guys are quiet today. Let's see, someone had to hop off. No, I've had a few people message me. So if you have any questions, there were a couple questions that came through about the individual plan and program. Just all you have to do is apply. Once you do, we can go through all of those options, really what that would look like for you, make sure that it's a really good fit for you. I do offer tons and tons of like custom payment plans, things like that. So check out that link, watch the video, apply, and then I will talk with all of you soon. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.